Have you ever been with someone who seems to move closer one moment and then suddenly create distance the next? Someone who makes you feel like everything is finally becoming deeper, safer, and more meaningful, only to disappear emotionally when the connection starts feeling serious. One day they are warm, attentive, and completely present. They ask about your day, they enjoy spending time with you, and they make you feel like you truly matter. Then suddenly, something changes. The messages become shorter, the conversations become quieter. The person who seems so connected suddenly feels far away. You find yourself looking at your phone, wondering what happened. You start questioning everything. Did I say something wrong? Did I become too much? Do they even care about me? Or was I only imagining the connection? That feeling can be incredibly confusing. It can make you feel like you are constantly trying to understand someone who never fully explains what is happening inside their mind. But there is something important that many people misunderstand about avoidant attachment. Avoidants often do not express love in the same way most people expect. They are usually not the type to constantly send emotional messages, repeatedly reassure you of their feelings, or openly talk about every fear and insecurity they have. They may not always say, "I miss you." They may not always say, "I need you." They may not always show love through big romantic gestures. In fact, sometimes the exact moment when they start caring the most is the moment when they appear to become more distant. And that is what makes avoidant relationships so difficult to understand. Their fear of emotional closeness can sometimes become stronger when their feelings become deeper. The more someone matters to them, the more vulnerable they feel. And vulnerability can feel frightening for someone who has spent years learning how to protect themselves emotionally. But distance does not always mean a lack of feelings. Sometimes distance is simply the way an avoidant tries to manage emotions that feel too overwhelming. They are not always running away because they don't care. Sometimes they are stepping back because they care more than they know how to handle. Today, here on the Avoidant Guide, we are going to explore 5 genuine signs that an avoidant may truly love you. These are not about creating false hope or convincing yourself someone cares when they don't. These are about understanding the deeper patterns behind avoidant behavior and recognizing the subtle ways they may show attachment, trust, and emotional investment. And stay until the end, because we are also going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with an avoidant. A mistake that can unintentionally create more distance and make them shut down even further. Let's begin. Imagine this situation. Sarah had been dating Jake for almost 6 months. At first, everything felt natural. They laughed together, enjoyed spending time together, and slowly started building a connection. Sarah felt like Jake was opening up. She believed they were becoming closer, but then, completely out of nowhere, Jake disappeared. One day passed, then another, then another. 3 days went by with no explanation. No good morning text, no phone call, no message asking how she was doing. Nothing. Sarah found herself constantly checking her phone. She looked at their previous conversations, wondering if she had said something that pushed him away. She replayed recent moments in her mind, searching for clues. Maybe she became too emotional. Maybe she asked for too much. Maybe he simply stopped caring. Every notification gave her a small feeling of hope, but every time it wasn't him, the disappointment grew stronger. Then, after 3 days of silence, her phone finally lit up. It was Jake. The message said, "Hey, how has your week been?" That was it. No explanation, no apology, no conversation about where he had been emotionally. Just a simple message, almost as if nothing had happened. For someone who doesn't understand avoidant attachment, this behavior can feel extremely confusing. It can even feel hurtful. You might think, if you cared about me, why would you disappear? And that is a completely understandable reaction. But for many avoidants, creating space is not always about rejecting someone. Sometimes it is their way of emotionally resetting. When feelings become intense, their nervous system may interpret closeness as something overwhelming. Instead of moving toward the person they care about, their instinct may be to create distance so they can feel balanced again. Space becomes their way of calming themselves. It becomes a place where they can think, process, and regain emotional control. Think of it like stepping away from a situation that feels too intense, not because the situation doesn't matter, but because it matters so much that they don't know how to handle the emotions connected to it. This is where an important difference appears. Someone who truly does not care about you usually does not feel a strong desire to reconnect. They disappear and continue moving forward. They do not look back. But an avoidant who genuinely has feelings often does something different. After taking the space they needed, they find their way back. Not because you chased them, not because you sent dozens of messages asking what was wrong, not because you made them feel guilty. They return because your absence started to feel noticeable. During that quiet time alone, they may have realized that they missed your presence. They may have thought about conversations you shared. They may have remembered the comfort they feel around you. They may have recognized that the connection with you feels different from other relationships. But because openly admitting those emotions can feel uncomfortable, they often return in subtle ways. Instead of saying, "I missed you," they might say, "Hey, what have you been doing? How is your week going? Have you watched that show we talked about?" To someone unfamiliar with avoidant behavior, those messages might seem casual or even emotionally distant. But underneath those simple words may be a deeper attempt to reconnect. They are opening the door again. They are checking if the relationship still feels safe. They are seeing whether they can come back without facing criticism, pressure, or emotional conflict. For many avoidants, reconnecting casually feels much easier than admitting they were afraid, overwhelmed, or missing someone. Another important sign is the way an avoidant begins allowing you into their personal world. Avoidants often value independence very deeply. Their private space, routines, hobbies, and alone time are not just habits. They are often the things that help them feel secure. Many avoidants build strong emotional boundaries around their lives because those boundaries make them feel safe. Their personal world can feel almost untouchable, like something they protect carefully and rarely share. But when an avoidant starts letting you enter that space without feeling the need to push you away, that is meaningful. For example, they invite you over, but they don't feel pressure to constantly entertain you. They can sit quietly with you. They can read on the couch while you relax. You can both do your own thing in the same room without uncomfortable tension. There is no panic, no feeling that they need to escape, just peace. That kind of comfort is a powerful sign of trust. Because for an avoidant, feeling comfortable enough to simply exist around someone can be a huge emotional step. And if they allow you to leave personal things at their place, a toothbrush, a jacket, a favorite hoodie, or even a small drawer that may seem insignificant to someone else, but emotionally, it can represent something much bigger. It means they are beginning to see you as part of their everyday life. They are not seeing your presence as an interruption. They are seeing you as someone who belongs. They are slowly creating a place for you inside their world. And for an avoidant, that is often one of the strongest ways they communicate love. They may not always express affection through words. They may not always have the emotional language to explain what you mean to them. But their actions often reveal what they struggle to say. They remember small details. They show up when it matters. They help you without being asked. They send you something because it reminded them of you. They bring you your favorite coffee. They fix something in your home. They share something that made them think of you. These actions may appear simple, but for someone who struggles with emotional vulnerability, these small gestures can carry a lot of meaning. Love from an avoidant is often quiet. It is usually not dramatic. It is often hidden in consistency, effort, and small moments of consideration. So think about your own situation. Have they ever done something thoughtful for you without expecting praise? Have they remembered something important that you mentioned weeks ago? Have they found small ways to make your life easier? Those moments may have been their version of saying, "I care about you." Because sometimes avoidants do not express love by saying everything they feel. They express love by showing you through their behavior. And one of the biggest signs of all is when they slowly begin opening up emotionally. Avoidants are often very protective of their inner world. Their fears, their insecurities, their past experiences, their emotional wounds. They usually do not share these things easily. So when an avoidant chooses to reveal those hidden parts of themselves, do not overlook that moment. Maybe one night they tell you about their childhood. Maybe they share a painful relationship experience. Maybe they admit something they have always been afraid of. Maybe they tell you that relationships feel difficult for them. That moment matters, because they are allowing you to see behind the walls they normally keep standing. And even if they pull back afterward, that does not erase what happened. Sometimes after being vulnerable, avoidants need time to process what they revealed. They may feel exposed. They may feel uncomfortable with how much they shared. But the worst response is to punish them for opening up. Do not make them feel like their vulnerability created a problem. Do not pressure them to immediately share more. Do not turn their honest moment into an interrogation. Instead, show them that emotional openness with you is safe, because safety is what allows an avoidant to slowly move closer. The goal is not to force them to open faster. The goal is to create an environment where they naturally feel comfortable opening when they are ready. That is how trust grows. And for an avoidant, trust is often the foundation that allows love to survive. So when you notice an avoidant making space for you, returning after distance, sharing personal parts of themselves, and quietly showing care through actions, pay attention. Their love may not always look like a traditional love story. It may not come with constant reassurance or dramatic expressions. But sometimes the quietest signs reveal the deepest feelings. Because for someone who has spent years protecting their heart, choosing to let you closer may be one of the biggest expressions of love they know how to give. For an avoidant, their personal world can often feel completely protected and almost impossible for others to enter. But when they choose to let you inside without constantly feeling the need to create distance, that is a much bigger sign than many people realize. Imagine they invite you over, but they don't feel pressured to impress you or keep you entertained every second. They are sitting on the couch reading a book while you are relaxing on your phone. There is no uncomfortable silence, no nervous energy, no feeling that something needs to be fixed. There is simply comfort. That comfort is a sign of trust. An avoidant allowing you to exist peacefully in their space means they are becoming emotionally safe with you. They are no longer seeing your presence as something overwhelming or threatening. And if they go even further, if they let you leave a toothbrush at their place, keep a hoodie there, or even give you some space in a drawer, that may seem like a small thing to someone else. But for an avoidant, that can represent something incredibly meaningful. In their emotional language, that's a major step. It means they no longer view you as someone who is temporarily passing through their life. They are starting to see you as someone who belongs in their everyday world. They don't feel like you're taking away their independence. They feel like you're becoming a natural part of their life. Many avoidants are not the type of people who sit down and constantly talk about their emotions. They usually don't say things like, "I need you," "I miss you," or "I'm afraid of losing you." But that doesn't mean they don't experience those feelings. They simply communicate love in different ways. Instead of directly saying, "I love you," they might remember your favorite coffee order and bring it to you without mentioning why. They might fix something in your home that has been bothering you. They might send you a song because it reminded them of a moment you shared. These actions may appear simple. They may even seem casual, but they are often very intentional. For an avoidant, love is frequently expressed through actions rather than emotional speeches. They may not make a dramatic announcement about how much they care, but they quietly pay attention. They remember details. They notice things. They find small ways to make your life easier. Think about it. Have they ever done something thoughtful for you without expecting recognition or making a big deal about it? That may have been their way of saying, "You matter to me." Another important sign is when an avoidant begins opening up emotionally. Many avoidants are like locked vaults when it comes to their deepest feelings. They don't easily share their fears, insecurities, childhood experiences, or emotional wounds. They have often learned to protect those parts of themselves because vulnerability feels risky. So when they finally allow you to see behind that wall, pay attention. Maybe one night during a quiet conversation, they suddenly tell you something personal. They share a painful memory from childhood. They talk about a past relationship that hurt them. They reveal an insecurity they've carried for years. Maybe they even admit that relationships scare them, or that getting close to someone feels difficult. This may not happen often. It might happen only once in a while. But when it does, don't underestimate what it means. An avoidant choosing to reveal their vulnerable side is usually a sign that they trust you. They are allowing you to see the parts of themselves they normally keep hidden from everyone else. And there is something important to remember here. Sometimes after opening up, an avoidant may pull back again. They might feel exposed. They might need time to process the fact that they shared something so personal. This is where many people make a mistake. They immediately demand more. They question them. They ask why they are pulling away. They make them feel guilty for needing space. But doing that can teach the avoidant that vulnerability is unsafe. Instead, allow that moment of openness to exist. Don't punish them for trusting you. Don't turn their honesty into pressure. Let them experience that they can reveal themselves to you and still feel accepted. Another powerful sign that an avoidant truly cares is when they begin including you in their future. For someone with avoidant tendencies, Future planning can feel intimidating. The idea of long-term commitment can bring up fears about losing freedom, becoming dependent, or getting hurt. They often prefer focusing on the present because the present feels safer and easier to control. So when they begin talking about the future, it means something. Maybe they casually say, "We should try that new restaurant next month. Let's plan a trip later this year. We should go there together sometime." These statements might seem ordinary, but for an avoidant, they are often meaningful because they are imagining you being there beyond today. Avoidants usually don't make future promises they don't believe in. They are careful with their words. So when they naturally start creating plans that include you, it shows they are making emotional space for you in their life. They may not be ready to promise forever. They may still have fears they are working through, but the fact that they are starting to picture a future with you is a significant step. Now that you understand these signs, let's talk about the mistake that causes many people to accidentally push an avoidant away. The biggest mistake is applying pressure the moment they finally show love. When an avoidant finally opens up, becomes affectionate, or shows signs that they care, many people immediately want more. They want reassurance. They want explanations. They want confirmation that everything is okay. But this can create the exact opposite reaction. Avoidants often need to feel that closeness is a choice, not something being forced onto them. So avoid using sarcasm or guilt. Don't respond with comments like, "Oh, so you do care after all?" Don't interrogate them when they finally share something personal. Don't make them regret showing emotion. The moments when an avoidant moves closer are precious because they are moments of trust. The goal is not to grab onto them out of fear that they might disappear again. The goal is to create an environment where they feel safe enough to continue coming closer. The best thing you can do when an avoidant finally begins showing love is to allow the connection to develop naturally. Let it breathe. Do not immediately push for more. Do not overwhelm them with questions, demands, or constant reassurance seeking. Do not make them feel like every moment of closeness comes with a responsibility to prove themselves again and again. For an avoidant, too much emotional pressure can quickly make them feel trapped, and when they feel trapped, their instinct is often to create distance. They may retreat, they may shut down, they may pull back, not because they stopped caring, but because they feel overwhelmed by the intensity of the situation. Instead, try something different. Match their energy. If they come back after needing space, welcome them with warmth instead of resentment. Do not punish them for returning. Do not respond with bitterness or make them feel like they have to defend themselves before reconnecting with you. Remember, the fact that they came back already tells you something. They chose to reopen the connection. They chose to step toward you again. A simple, calm, and positive response can show them that being close to you feels safe. Also, learn to appreciate the small ways they show love. Avoidants often communicate through actions rather than grand emotional displays. They may not always give you the dramatic expressions of affection you see in movies. They may not constantly say the perfect words, but they may show up. They may remember details about you. They may quietly support you. They may make small efforts that reveal how much they care. Do not ignore those gestures simply because they are different from the way you personally express love. At the same time, avoid demanding bigger and bigger proof of their feelings. When someone already struggles with emotional vulnerability, constantly asking them to prove their love can make them feel like they will never be enough. The goal is not to force an avoidant to love in your exact way. The goal is to understand the way they naturally express care while also creating healthy communication between both people. Give them room to breathe. Respect their need for occasional space. Understand that independence is often a part of who they are. Space does not always mean rejection. Sometimes space is what allows them to return with a more open heart. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make is making them feel like they have to earn your love again every single time they need a moment alone. Healthy connection is not built through punishment. It is built through trust, patience, and emotional safety. Avoidants often love quietly. They may not always announce their feelings. They may not always express affection in obvious ways. But when you learn to recognize their rhythm and respect the way they move through relationships, there is a real opportunity for the connection to grow deeper. Because love is not only about how someone feels, it is also about whether two people can understand each other. So think about your own experience. Have you noticed any of these signs in someone you care about? Have you seen an avoidant show love in subtle ways that you may have overlooked before? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know your experience. And if this message connected with you, Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the Avoidant Guide, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.